Hey, you're listening to the DIY Marketing School podcast. I'm your host and your marketing coach, Melanie Diane Howe. And in this episode, I'm going to offer up some different ways that I want you to measure your success. Let's go. You know, I wanted to come on the podcast and talk about something that is, it's kind of one of those, I guess, it's a topic that I think you could look at a lot of different ways. And it's how we measure success. And this is something that it goes way back for me. So back in my corporate days, I was on a lot of projects, a lot of times where people would, feel like, you explain the scope of a project or a program or what we're doing, and then everyone would walk away and have these assumptions about what it was. And sometimes people were on the same page and sometimes people weren't. And a lot of times where people really weren't on the same page was, what does success look like? And this is a question I ask a lot. This is a question I ask during any collaborations that I'm involved in. This is a question I continue to always be the one in the room who says, hey, before we all get away, before we move on, I want to make sure we all understand, like, what does success look like? And the reason I say this is because, if you have all get together and you have a goal, or if you're sitting down for your own business or with your teammates or whomever, and you're working on something and you say, we're going to launch a podcast and we're going to get going with it, or, hey, we're going to launch a program, we're going to do a holiday promo, whatever it might be. And everybody's on the stage like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, okay, cool. But then everybody walks away and everyone might have a different version of what that success looks like. One person might, let's use a podcast as an example, since you're listening to a podcast. And one example could be, let's launch a podcast, let's get it out there, and let's get some guests on the show. Let's just I feel like this is a really good marketing tactic for what we're trying to do in the upcoming year. And so your team gets together or whatever, and everybody says, okay, we're going to go launch the podcast. And your version of success is like 100,000 downloads in the first 3 months. And somebody else's version of success might be the podcast is literally launched and it's out there. Somebody else might think, okay, successful podcast looks like, we're building our lists, our email lists, we're growing our audience, we are able to sell more programs, we're getting more affiliate dollars because of the products that we're promoting on the podcast. So, again, those are all three very different versions of success, all arguably okay and appropriate versions of success. And so the reason I bring this up is because, again, anytime I've been involved in any kind of team effort or team thing, I always want to make sure everybody understands that. Like, what does success look like? If I've ever worked with clients, I ask the question, what does success look like to you? I think this is a really great question to ask others, but I think it's a really great question to ask of ourselves as well. And what I want you to do, I think it's very easy, especially as an entrepreneur, as an online business owner, as a content creator, to get wrapped up in some of the metrics that we hear about. Let's say YouTube, for example. What does success look like? You have at least 1,000 subscribers, or you have 100,000 subscribers, just that you may be sitting there comparing yourself to others. And so your version, your metric of success is maybe based on other, YouTubers that you're watching. And, if you're on Instagram, you feel like, hey, in order to be successful on Instagram, I need to have this many followers, I need to have this much engagement, I need to have this many likes on my posts, I need to have this many comments on my posts. The list goes on, right? YouTube, how many views are your videos getting, all the things. Here's what I actually want to say. Be very careful about that being your metric of success. Now, hear me again. There's a lot of ways you can look at this concept. And I absolutely do believe that we should be paying attention to metrics, to numbers, right? Followers, engagement, those numbers, that's data. That's data that helps us kind of get an understanding about what's resonating with our audience. If you go make 5 videos and one video gets, 1,500 views and the other videos get 100 views, well, that should tell you something. That's data, right? And so okay, what was different about that one video? Was it the topic? Was it the description? Was it maybe because of SEO? Was it maybe because that video was a different caliber, better quality? Maybe it's because it was shorter. Maybe it's because it was longer. It can be a lot of different things here. So, I always look at my podcast episodes. I like to look back at my old episodes and always make sure that I have, a good understanding about which episodes continue to, top the charts, my own internal chart of which ones have the most downloads. And there's a couple things I look at. I look at the total number of downloads, but I also look at how old is the episode, because if it's more recent, or if it's an older episode and it's continuing to still get listens and downloads, well, that tells me something, that is a topic that resonates with my audience, or it's a topic that, it's an episode that people are sharing or they're coming back to. So, just be able to have a good understanding of these numbers. But please hear me. Do not allow the numbers to be your only measurement of success. And I'm going to say the same thing when it comes to your revenue, when it comes to the money you're earning, the money you're making, because I think that we can measure success in a lot of different ways. One of the measurements of success, in my opinion, is how you feel. How do you feel about the business that you're growing? How do you feel about the content that you're creating? Does it feel good to you? To me, if you're only chasing numbers, if you're only chasing money, and you're getting those results, but it doesn't feel good, I don't define that as successful. And that's just my personal opinion. So what are some ways that you can look at the efforts that you're putting out there, not only in your business or your journey, whether it be as a nonprofit even, or just even as a content creator? Maybe you are you have a business that's a side hustle and you're creating content or you're doing something, you're trying to grow it, right? Wherever you are, whatever it is you're doing, I want you to be thinking about some other ways that are maybe not so obvious about how you can be measuring success. All right. So before we get too much further though, before I jump into some of these other ways you can measure success, I do want to kind of point something out. Don't you got to look at everything, okay? You have to have goals in your business. You have to have goals in what you're doing. There has to be a purpose. There has to be a reason. And I do feel strongly that when we are measuring success, there have to be some measurements, some, key metrics that we are looking at that align with those goals. Okay. So these are not meant to be a replacement for you being strategic in that aspect. The reason I want to share these other things with you is because I truly believe that our success is multifaceted. And I think that many people get stuck on the traditional metrics. I'm not saying don't look at the traditional metrics at all. I'm just saying let's look at some other things too, because it's going to help you move forward. It's going to help you maintain momentum. It's going to help you keep going, which in this journey that's freaking hard, as you know, that we need that. And it's very easy to get, stuck or depressed or sad or disgruntled or let down if we are not able to look at all of the aspects of our success. Okay. So, all right, let's dive in. So I already mentioned it a little bit, but the first area that I want you to be thinking about is how happy are you? Is your business bringing you joy? And again, there are going to be seasons in this journey that you are on that are not going to be joyous. They're going to be a grind. They're going to be grueling. But there have to be some elements of that journey where you can find the joy. I've been talking about this a lot lately over the past year because, in 2020, my goodness, 2020, last year at the time of this recording, I really got into a rut, like bad. I got into a rut pre-pandemic honestly. And I just was kind of in this place where I was just like, where am I going? What am I doing? And of course, the metrics I was looking at weren't where I wanted to be. They certainly weren't where I envisioned myself being. And I've talked about that a lot. I've been really transparent about it. And I got really down, and I was just like, and I had been in and out of these ruts. I became self-employed in 2014 when I started my agency. So I've been on this journey for a while. So I've had some ebbs and some flows in both, the success, but also the mental success, if you will. And so I knew what this felt like, but this time was different. I was just like, I think I was sort of like tired of the ebb and flow. And that's how I felt. I was tired. And I was just like, I'm not going to be able to keep going if I can't have some fun. And I knew, I was always hung up on, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should. And I was measuring myself, right? Myself of whether or not I was doing these things I knew I should be doing. This podcast is a great example. If you have been a listener for a while, you know that I don't release a podcast episode every single week. Should I? Yes. It's absolutely a top-notch strategy. It really is. I should be sending an email to my email list every week. These are great strategies that are effective. But I was getting into this place where I wasn't really able to keep up with all the things. And I was getting down on myself. I was getting hard on myself. I was measuring my own success. I was measuring my own worth as a business owner and as a marketer based on these things, these metrics. Are you releasing an episode every week? Are you sending an e-blast every week? The answer was no. And that was also contributing to this like downness, if you will. And so I just kind of woke up one day and I said, screw it. I'm not going to worry about all the shoulds. And I'm going to focus on what I want to do, knowing what is smart and what is strategic. But I'm going to lean into the areas right now that feel natural and feel fun. And my hope is that if I can build up some energy with the fun, then I will be able to have the energy to do some of these other things that maybe I don't enjoy so much, right? I actually love doing the podcast. I just quite frankly run into time sucks and other things. And it's not able to be my top priority. I go live on live video regularly. That is my top priority to stay focused there. And there's other things too. I think you probably have similar things where you're not necessarily top notch in one area, but you are really focused in another area. That's okay. That is okay. You need to give yourself permission that you can't do all of the things, especially if you're in that season where you are literally the only person. If you're like me, I literally have no staff. I have no teammates. And if that's you, then you can't do everything. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And so I got to the point where I was like, I'm not going to get down anymore. I'm not going to be depressed anymore. I'm going to go have some freaking fun. And for me, it was live video and tinkering around and spending time doing things that some people would say, you're wasting your time. What are you doing? You should be focused on revenue generating activities instead of playing around with the StreamYard application or playing around with how to figure out how to put a countdown timer in your live streams, yada, 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 yada. Well, for me, that was fun. And I just started enjoying creating content in this format. And so I just leaned into it and it worked. I started having a lot of fun. And then I really did want to actually focus on all the things. I wanted to grow a business. I wanted to, get back into the grind again. Right. And so if you're going to have those times though, where you aren't necessarily, every day is not necessarily going to be like lollipops and rainbows and all the things. It's just that overall though, you have to enjoy your business. You have to enjoy this process of creating content or you are not going to create the content, right? That's just one example. So I want you to be looking at it and thinking, am I happy? Am I finding joy? Am I enjoying this? And you probably very quickly, without a lot of analysis, can answer that question. And if you can't answer that question with I'm actually enjoying this. It is hard. It is challenging, but I absolutely am passionate about this. This is what I want to do. And if you can't find the joy in the process, then that is a red flag. That would be like, the version of, hey, we set out a goal to make $100,000 this year and it's December and we've only made $20,000, right? Like this is a really drastic example, but I'm using the traditional metrics of success. There you go. Got it out. That would be an example. to me, if you're not able to answer that question with, yes, I'm having fun, I do find joy in this business, I do find joy in what I do, then that's a red flag, just like it would be to the CFO who says, we're only 20% to our goal. I mean, the year is like almost over. So that's how I want you to be looking at that. So that's the first area. The next area that you could be looking at as far as how to measure success is, are you making forward progress? And forward progress can look a lot of different ways, but I am very much a believer in action creates courage. I think action creates more action. And as long as we're making forward progress, even if it's not at the rate of, that we want or that we think, as long as we're moving forward and making forward progress, then that is success. That should be success, especially if you've ever been somebody who's been stuck, or maybe has gotten in a rut like I did, or maybe has abandoned ship for a little while, or maybe somebody who sat and said, man, 2021, was going to be my year where I launched that show, or I focused on my live streams, or, I started my website and I decided I'm going to grow an email list. Maybe that was the year, and here you are and it didn't happen, right? Did you make forward progress? And if you didn't, then we need to look at that. What's going on? What do we need to change? But if you're one of those people that is making forward progress, but again, not necessarily at this crazy rate, don't compare yourself to others. Don't compare yourself to your mentors. Don't look at, well, she has 5,000 Instagram followers and here I am hovering around 1,200. Like, oh, dang, I'm not successful yet. Okay, well, were you at 1,100? Were you at 800 a year ago? Are you creating content? Maybe you're not creating like Instagram reels that are hilarious and viral every other day like some people, but are you creating content? Are you engaging? Are you making connections? Well, then that's forward progress. Are you learning new things? Are you trying new things? Are you taking risks? Are you stepping into discomfort and taking action anyway? That's forward progress. And I think that so often as online, as anyone in business, but really especially anyone who is focused on online marketing, online content, so podcasters, live streamers, YouTubers, people using social media like Instagram and other places, I think so often we skip this measurement of success. We do not look at forward progress as a measurement of success. We look at results and we look at, what did I get out of it? Okay, yeah, I started creating reels. But you're looking at, what results did you get? Did you gain new followers? Did you get, did that video go viral? We're not looking at just celebrating the fact that you did reels. Same thing with live video. We're not focused on celebrating the fact that you've gone live and you've stuck with it and you've done weekly live videos for 6 months. I think people often too much focus on, well, where are my numbers? Where are my subscribers? How many people are showing up live? And that's why so many people quit. And here's the thing. You have to measure forward progress. Forward progress has to be a measurement of success, because you are not going to have overnight results. It is what it is. This is a marathon, not a sprint. There are times when people have quick hits of success, or they get lucky, or they have an opportunity that just, something landed in their lap. That does happen, but that is the exception. It truly is the exception. And so we have to get used to the fact that this is not a quick win. And even if it was a quick win, you would still need to move on to the next thing. And so I want you to also be measuring the fact that you are taking action, you're doing what you said you were going to do, and you are implementing and you're making forward progress. That is absolutely success if you're doing that. So focus on that too. Another one I want you to be focused on that I think also is not something people think about is, what lessons are you learning? What mistakes did you make, or what have you learned through this journey? Because again, we are going to have, things that go really well, and then we're going to have things that don't go really well. We're going to have things we regret. We're going to have things that we wish we would have done differently. So what lessons are you learning? And so when you have one of those moments where things didn't go quite the way you wanted to, or you're down on yourself because maybe you didn't get the results you wanted, well, then let's turn that on its head and let's focus on, okay, great. Well, where's the silver lining? What can I take from this? How can I help somebody else by sharing this knowledge? Or how can I ensure that, okay, now that that happened, I'm good to go. I learned the lesson and here's what I'm going to change moving forward. Let's go ahead and celebrate that as well. Let's find a win in the loss, right? As long as you look at it and find that silver lining and you can actually put it into place and, really truly like make an improvement from the lesson, then that's so successful, super duper successful. So let's make sure we acknowledge that as success as well. Okay. So the fourth thing I like to measure my success in the relationships, the people around me, my audience, my peers, the people I'm collaborating with, the people asking me to come on their show, the people coming on my show. These are relationships. In this modern day of business, we are doing a lot of virtual networking, a lot of virtual collaborations. A lot of that is going on. And if you're not putting yourself out there, you very well may not be basically making and nurturing relationships. I think so often we do focus on the relationships we have with our audience or the relationships we have, with the people we work with, but really, really focus on it. Do you feel good about it? Are you growing your audience? Are you getting to know your audience? And if you're, an example I'll give you is my live streams, my live videos. I love it when I see people come back to a live stream. Every time, even if I have 5 people on a live video watching me live, if one of those people is a return viewer, then I view it as success. I absolutely view it as success because that means that person got value before and they've come back for more. And I absolutely celebrate that as a win. So I'm not focused on the fact that I don't have 50 people watching my live stream today or 120 people or 300 people or whatever it might be. I'm focused on, hey, that I know that person. That is success to me. And one of the things I take a lot of pride in right now is getting to know my audience. I love it when people come back and I get to know them. I get to know their business and I know their first name, even though their, channel is something totally different, right? Their YouTube channel, their handle. I love it when I get to know my audience. I take pride in that. And I think you should too. I take pride in when I get people that ask me to come on their show. I take pride that when somebody says they want to be on my show or they say yes to coming on my show, I am celebrating the success of the relationships that I'm creating. And you should be too. So that is also another area where you can find wins. Okay, the last area that I want you to focus on is kind of similar to what I was just talking about, and that's opportunities. So opportunities have they come in lots of shapes and colors. An opportunity could actually be what I was just describing, you being a guest on somebody else's show. An opportunity could be an actual job opportunity. It could be a contract opportunity. It could be a new client coming in. These opportunities should be in the bucket of measuring success. But I want you to don't just look at opportunities as, I'm going to make money from this. This is a speaking engagement I'm getting paid for. Therefore, it's successful. Don't look at it just that way. Look at everything that happens, everything you do as an opportunity and measure the success. So an opportunity could literally be that somebody's asked you to come be, in their content, and you should absolutely be saying, the fact that I'm getting asked to do this is exciting, right? But I also want you to look at opportunities as layers, because I personally believe opportunities create more opportunities. And so yes, if somebody comes in and they present you with, hey, we'd love to have you come do this, can you give us a proposal? Well, heck yeah, that's an opportunity and should be successful. But that's also kind of tied to those traditional metrics that we talked about at the beginning of the show that are tied towards revenue and whatnot. I want you to look at it as, okay, great, this is a great opportunity. Yes, I'm going to make money, but what other opportunities can this create? And how can I deem those other opportunities successful? And some of those other opportunities, maybe you may not be thinking about them, but I want you to be looking at it and saying, hey, this is an opportunity to get in front of a whole different audience. This is an opportunity to bring more people into my world. This is an opportunity to learn. This is an opportunity to practice before I get big so that I can be even more comfortable when those big opportunities come knocking on my door. So don't just measure opportunities like I said, speaking engagements, guest appearances, whatnot. Don't just measure them about, the revenue you bring. don't be afraid to measure the success of opportunities if they, in the aspect, in the currency of other opportunities. And I think that this is something I want you to focus on, because I do think that people get hung up and they say, oh, well, that really wasn't a big deal because I didn't get paid for it. Or that really wasn't a big deal because it was just this. Especially as we are, in the infancy of our business, in the infancy of our journey, in the beginning stages of everything, you have to find success in those unpaid opportunities too. And I just think, again, those are just areas where we can feed ourselves. Because the whole reason I wanted to record this podcast is because I want you to find different ways to fuel yourself. We so easily can put ourselves down based on how we're measuring our own success. Because sometimes we are creating expectations that are, quite frankly, are just unfair. And so, but maybe you don't have a lot of areas where you're like, well, what else am I supposed to measure? So I wanted to offer you with these other areas, these 5 areas where you could also be looking to find ways to fuel yourself with positive energy so that you can keep going, but also feel proud of yourself. Because that's so important as we are out here doing what we're doing. You have to feel pride. You have to feel proud. You have to be able to gain confidence. And when we get down on ourselves, we get stuck, we bury our heads in the sand, and we go crawl in the room and we turn the lights out and we just stay stuck. And that's what happens. And I've been there. And I know that you have to be able to find other ways to fuel yourself with the pride and the confidence to keep going. And there will be times when you are absolutely going to be able to crack open a bottle of champagne and be like, holy crap, I just launched my course, or I just launched my program and I made $10,000 in 1 week based on that. I just did this and I made $50,000 on that program. I just went and did this affiliate launch with my partner and I just made $5,000 of passive income because I basically was promoting this product, whatever it might be. You're going to have those things. I just hit 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, whatever it might be. You're going to have those really big, successful things that are super obvious, that are absolutely champagne worthy. And you absolutely should celebrate those with whatever you want to do to make it feel special. But you have to look at these other things too, to keep yourself going in between those champagne worthy moments. And that is really what this is all about, is you've got to be able to keep going in between those big wins, in between those obvious successes, in between those things where we have the metrics and the numbers that truly are speaking to us, the bank account, the followers, the numbers, the data. All the other stuff in between, you have to be able to feel successful as well, or you're going to get burnt out and you're just going to quit. So there you have it. Let's do a quick recap. So I want you to be thinking about these 5 categories, about where else you can find these measurements of success. The first one, your own mood, your vibe. Are you happy? Are you enjoying what you're doing? And if you are so successful. You are so freaking successful. Keep going. If you're enjoying what you're doing and having fun, that is super successful. So keep on keeping on, right? All right. The next one is, are you making forward progress? Are you taking action? So if you took action today and it didn't result in, 100 new followers or $1,000, who cares? If you took action and you made forward progress, celebrate it. And I actually think that this is something that you can literally celebrate every day. You can look back on your day and you can say, how did I take forward action today? What did I do today that moved the needle forward, even if it was a teeny, tiny little bit? Every day you could probably look back. If you do a journaling, if you're one of those types of people, you can absolutely look and find these things. Celebrate it. Celebrate the forward progress, even if it's not tied to some sort of data or some sort of metric. All right, the third one was celebrate the lessons learned too. We're going to have times when things don't go so well, or they don't feel so great, or it just didn't turn out the way we wanted to. As long as you can look at that situation and find an opportunity to learn or to grow or to find that silver lining, celebrate that as well. Find the win in the loss. That's key. And then relationships. What kind of relationships are you fostering? What kind of relationships are you nurturing? Does a new person come into your world that says they want to collaborate with you? Celebrate that. Celebrate those wins as well. If your audience return people that send you a DM and say, I really loved your podcast, a person who sends you a note that says, I really loved what you're doing. Keep up the great work. Celebrate it. It doesn't always, our successes don't always have to be tied to big numbers and big amounts of dollars. They can be literally, you can measure your success in those types of relationships that you're creating as well, especially with your audience. And then the last one was opportunities. So often we sort of focus on the opportunities that are putting money into our bank accounts or money or they're like huge stages or whatever. Don't just focus on that. If you look at everything that comes to you, everything that you decide to do, celebrate the opportunities that are being created from the opportunity. So again, if you have a speaking engagement that you're not being paid for, but then all of a sudden you have, all of a sudden you have 20 new YouTube subscribers, or, all of a sudden there's these whole new people that joined your Facebook community, or there's 50 people that just joined your email list. Celebrate that. Those are wins as well. Even if the numbers are small, those numbers are all over the place. Don't think, well, Mel, I didn't get 50, so I can't celebrate. No, if you got one email subscriber because you did a speaking engagement, celebrate it. Celebrate the opportunities as wins and as success that come from opportunities. Don't just focus on the dollars and the numbers. Okay, my friends, that's what I wanted to come on here and talk about today. This is actually a topic I'm pretty passionate about because I've been there. I continue to fight this battle, but I do know that when I focus on some of the not so obvious areas of success, that it makes me feel good. It makes me feel rejuvenated and it makes me feel proud. And I also noticed that I feel like I have to do a lot of coaching for some people. I know I always have to get people unstuck and get them out of their heads because we're all hard on ourselves. And that's just, I think, human nature sometimes. And when you're in business, it's very easy to get hard on yourself because we're just always looking at these metrics that they're great and you should be looking at those metrics, but those should not be the only metrics that you're looking at. And that's what I was saying earlier is that success, in my opinion, should be measured in many areas. It's multifaceted. So look at the numbers, understand your goals. Are you meeting your goals? Are you hitting your key indicators to get to your goals? But also look at these other areas as well. And don't forget to pat yourself on the back when you have some successes in these areas too. All right. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you know somebody else that you think needs to hear this, you know what I'd love for you to do? I would love for you to share this episode. I would love for you to share it with them. If you have a Facebook group, if you have anything and you feel like anyone in your world, anyone in your audience needs to hear the same thing, please feel free to share this episode. This is definitely a message that I would love to get out there, and it definitely will help the podcast. And quite frankly, it'll just make me feel good if I know that other people are benefiting from something like this. So that's one of my areas of success is, am I making a difference in other people's lives? I don't care if it's making me money, but am I making a difference in somebody else's life? And so that's one of the ways that I measure success for myself is making that difference. And I hope you are too. All right. Well, I will talk to you all soon. Until then, go have an awesome day and do something amazing and pat yourself on the back. I'll see you later.